Okay.
Good evening. This is, I call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Hampden Selectboard, Board of Health, being held in the Townhouse Auditorium on May 27th, 2025 at roughly 5:33 p.m. The meeting is being conducted in person, remotely, using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is anyone recording the meeting other than ourselves? Kristen?
Kristen? Hello,
Good
Kristen.
evening. Okay, thank you. Kristen Rivers of the Wilbraham Hampden Times recording the meeting. The first item we have on our agenda, we'll go to the minutes afterwards. The first item we have on our meeting this evening is the Municipal Vulnerability Program video presentation. I think we have two videos?
Two, yes.
Two.
A 5-minute followed by approximately 19-minute.
Okay. Let them roll.
Do we want the introduction, or are we good?
Yeah, let's introduce the people, please.
You want to do the introduction, Stephen?
Yeah, my name is Stephen Tyler from Howard Stein Hudson, and project manager for the Hampden MVP project.
Thank you. Welcome back, Steve.
And my name is Perry Hallinan, and I'm the filmmaker for this project.
Well done.
And also with us, we have a Hampden resident who is also a part of the production, Carol Skowal, and her father is in the film.
Oh, great.
In what role?
Production assistant, yes, yes, and location scout.
Oh,
great.
Perfect.
All right, so I'll show the trailer first, right?
Yes, please.
The short one. That should go away in a second.
Hampden's a very picturesque community, predominantly residential. It's off the beaten path. I have been out to look at our bridges and culverts in town. What we see are that our infrastructure is old, in some cases it's undersized.
Since you don't really see it, you don't really think about it. And as long as the road is still operational and functional, you don't know what the condition of a culvert that you're driving over might be. If this bridge were to wash out, one half of the community would be cut off from the other half.
The weather plays a huge part in a small town. It takes out roads. There was a flood back in the 50s that divided the town in half.
And the water came across where St. Mary's Church is and flooded into the fields of the Hampden nurseries, which my father owned. All the streams and brooks and everything was flooded.
There's a lot of bridges that have the stamp of, 1950, 1951, 1955. The reason that is because all the bridges were washed out during this large storm.
One of my concerns is usually they're all built around the same time, and stands to reason that they may start showing decline around the same time.
'20th century infrastructure built for a 21st century world, those two things aren't going to match up. Over the years, the MVP program's goal has been to get every single community in the Commonwealth to identify their local climate change, adaptation, and resilience priorities. Most towns are doing tremendous amounts of work already, and so taking on a long-term permitting and design process, in addition to funding schools, in addition to funding DPW, in addition to all the things that towns have to do in order to function, it's not uncommon for these long-term projects just to fall off the radar.
The foundation of civilization is public works. So with MVP funding, the town began with continuing the assessment of the bridge, and then ultimately finding the funding to do a final design, including bid documents for the replacement of the Main Street Bridge over East Brook.
We designed the bridge per the Mass DOT stream crossing standards. You have to look at the stream bed with upstream and downstream and kind of come up with an average. For that, we determined that the proposed span for this bridge needed to be around 32 feet. The existing bridge has a span length of around 16 feet.
When you have these large storms, all these trees come down, you see them dammed up against these bridge structures, and they'll keep damming up, and all of a sudden you see the bridge fail. And the reason why the bridge is failing is because there's so much excess pressure on the bridge that it wasn't designed for.
As part of the MVP grant process, they also are encouraging communities to look at long-term solutions. So not only to replace the bridge, but what other things can occur within the community to improve the resiliency at the bridge.
Whenever I see a pipe just sticking straight into a brook, I think, wow, there's an opportunity to improve things.
So all the catch basins are just on the other side of this berm along Main Street to the Latin Brook. What we're proposing to do is to redirect each one of those sets of catch basins to come into this location from the street itself. You know, oil runoff, any salt runoff, hopefully can be treated here through plant species along with retention. And then anything left over will be redirected as treated water in a way back to East Brook.
As part of this project, we made a website which is kind of this repository for everything that we were creating for the project. So that was reports, it was maps. Down here is the Green Infrastructure Solutions part of the project. In here, you'll see the designs that were put together specifically for Hampton to work with a new culvert under Main Street.
One of the big problems with green infrastructure, especially in smaller towns, is the maintenance. So we've talked with the Garden Center, we've also talked with Latin Brook to find a way that we have the community come here and bring back that old history of it being like a learning center for the community and try to have that be a learning center again. But I think it's a great opportunity for the community to come and see how different parts of green infrastructure are used so they can maybe actually use smaller options on their own property.
Hey, this is Andrew, the regional coordinator from MVP.
All right, and the second one was
That's right.
number 2?
Yes.
Pause that for 1 second.
Hampton's a very picturesque community, predominantly residential. It's off the beaten path. There's no state numbered highways in Hampden.
The Scannick River's nice. I used to ride tube down it when I was a kid. We'd start up by the Chapin Road Bridge. Here's the dam. Here's a picture of the dam. There used to be a mill on the river.
We've got a few mountain ranges here. The main corridor sits in a valley.
Minnetonka Mountain. That's pretty cool.
Hampton's kind of hovered around the 5,000 mark as far as population goes for, I think, the last 20 years or so. And yeah, it's a small community, so everybody knows each other. And that's mainly how things get done.
This would be the townhouse. Our selectmen have so many people coming at them, and I want this, I want that, do this, do that. And there's only so much money, you know, in the budget.
In this office, we work closely with everyone. Planning board, building department, fire department, highway. You just do what's asked. You have to in order to make it all work.
I think all our departments are very well run. I think the highway department does the best they can. They're buying more equipment and getting better stuff, roadside mowers, and they needed one. They had an old sickle bar thing, and that thing was an antique.
The Main Street Bridge on East Brook, according to my records, was built after the New England hurricane of 1938. So it's getting up there in age.
Weather plays a huge part in a small town. Takes out roads. There was a flood back in the 50s that divided the town in half.
And the water came across where St. Mary's Church is and flooded into the fields of the Hampden nurseries, which my father owned. All the streams and brooks and everything was flooded.
There's a lot of bridges that have the stamp of, 1950, 1951, 1955. The reason that is because all the bridges were washed out in this large storm.
One of my concerns is like usually they're all built around the same time, and stands to reason that they may start showing decline around the same time.
So I have been out to look at our bridges and culverts in town. What we see are that our infrastructure is old. In some cases, it's undersized, based on what we see happening with heavier rain events and thunderstorms that come through, especially in other municipalities and states. It's a lot easier to fix it now than it is to do it in an emergency.
We have more energy in our atmosphere, so there's more moisture in the atmosphere. And so when it comes down more intensely. Bridge behind me, as it looks right now, the water's flowing through quite nicely, but last spring there was a flood. The water came right up to the width of the road. There's been floods where the water's been over the road. All the trees and other debris that are moving down the stream in the storm get lodged in there, and it just causes a lot of flooding. That bridge was not designed to be a dam.
Since you don't really see it, you don't really think about it. And as long as the road is still operational and functional, you don't know what the condition of a culvert that you're driving over might be. If this bridge were to wash out, one half of the community would be cut off from the other half. As a former DPW director in central Massachusetts, I can certainly understand what these communities are dealing with. Funding challenges throughout the years have created situations where not only highway departments, but many departments are at the bare minimum for being able to maintain existing operations. In the case of this community, the design cost of this bridge is greater than their Chapter 90 funds for a single year. What we're able to do is identify that need with the community and pair it up with a funding program that we felt that they could be eligible for, and it turns out that they were. Now's your opportunity. You have a bridge that's in bad condition. Now's the time to replace it and do what's best for your community.
Over the years, the MVP program's goal has been to get every single community in the Commonwealth to identify their local climate change, adaptation, and resilience priorities. We focus on dealing with the impacts of climate change and doing it in a way that works with nature. Most towns are doing tremendous amounts of work already, and so taking on a long-term permitting design process, in addition to funding schools, in addition to funding DPW, in addition to all the things that towns have to do in order to function, it's not uncommon for these long-term projects just to fall off the radar. And the ability for us to help fund something so it can be advanced through the different stages of design, permitting, bid-ready documents can really help the town access the right funding stream for final construction.
The MVP project is funding the design work for the town of Hampden to replace the Main Street Bridge. Once the town has the final design, then we can get on what's called the Transportation Improvement Plan, or the TIP, at the MPO. And that will make construction funding available to the town to actually replace the bridge. Hampden's annual operating budget is about $16.5 million. So bridges that cost $4 and $5 million, it's a really difficult project for the town to fund, purely out of its tax base.
I have done about 23 MVP planning grants. I've worked in large cities and small towns. Hampden's MVP planning process began with a community resilience building workshop. Climate change is three things. It's rising temperature, it's the changing precipitation, and then sea level. Every community that goes through the planning process develops a matrix. So the risk matrix asks the participants to identify both those threats and opportunities to address those threats. It included three sectors: infrastructure, society, and the environment. Culverts are a big deal. Those roads that didn't flood before are now flooding during extreme rain events. In these communities, they all share older buildings that weren't necessarily built with air conditioning because it wasn't needed. Now, the heat comes sooner and it sticks around longer. So even in schools, air conditioning is becoming a priority. So there's a common thread amongst all these communities, but yet each one manages to find their own unique need. Like in Hampden's case, it turned out to be that Main Street bridge.
So I've been here 10 months. The two issues that have come up are extreme heat, and we also had high wind event that took down some trees and some power lines. You know, what we're seeing are more intense storms that come through, heavier rain, higher winds, those types of things.
I should never have this job because I'm petrified of bugs and germs and diseases and all of it. It's awful. Triple E, every year, it gets high. The state will notify us when there's a danger. West Nile, Triple E, Limes. They send us all the information, and then we are responsible to put it out to the people of our town. So when I first started, it was almost nil, nothing, and then it is, eventually rose to the high counts now that we get at the end of the summer are more of a normal than not.
While I'm planning the day or the week, I'm mindful. I don't need to have anybody getting sick or heat stroke. We may try to wrap up any maybe hot mix, hot asphalt work by noontime and do something a little less strenuous if it's going to be, super hot out.
From the municipal standpoint, we'll open cooling centers when it gets extremely hot. We're trying to protect those most vulnerable. Our senior center is available for people to go there of any age. And then also the library is available as well.
We had the October storm, weird snowstorm, knocked out power for 7 days in Hampden. Board of Health is lucky enough to have a trailer we got from grants and stocked. We loaded it up to one of the fire trucks, pulled it over to the senior center, opened the doors and put up cots. Everybody donated food. It was amazing.
And Mass Audubon is just hugely excited about the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program in Massachusetts because it's really helping to bring community attention to climate change preparedness issues. That includes infrastructure like roads and school buildings and police stations and other emergency preparedness facilities, but it also includes what people call nature-based solutions to climate change. There's really no land cover better than forest for slowing down stormwater during intense storm events. It's never one thing that kills a tree. At Laughing Brook, hundreds of our oak trees were killed by successive years of being defoliated by spongy moths. Years of defoliation by spongy moth is a stress, but extra heat is another stress. All these stressors are kind of coming to bear all at once.
I feel like we're not getting as much snow as we used to, like when I was a kid, and maybe a little bit wetter conditions, so we might be using a little bit more salt. And you get those temperatures that hover right around 30 degrees. You're getting freezing, then you get the slush, so we might have to scrape off the slush, and then it freezes. So we just always have to be prepared, make sure we have enough salt in the salt shed, and make sure all of our trucks and equipment are in good working order, and just respond the best we can.
In order to raise a cow, you need to have good water and good quality hay, which is sometimes not doable because we have drought, like we had a drought this fall, and that really hurt. Right away you start, buying more hay, bringing in more hay, and this is what you're gonna supplement it with because you don't have any grazing.
So currently with this drought, we have had maybe 5 wells that had to be decommissioned, destroyed, and new wells put in. If your well is shallow, there's a good chance that it's gonna go dry.
People are like, I got a shallow well, hopefully it'll start raining, maybe I can get some water from the neighbor, which a lot of people did. They're running hoses, at least they could get something to drink. Wait until it rained, but it went like almost 3 months before it finally rained in November.
Flooding, it definitely could devastate your septic field and your septic tank. And putting that in is even worse than a well.
We didn't have any wildfires in town, but we did provide mutual aid to the town of Munson, who had a significant wildfire. Hampden has a tanker and a brush truck, so we actually staff and lend those resources to neighboring towns when they're needed. And that was a multi-week event.
Some things that could make a culvert fail is just age, the type of material that they were constructed with. Some of the older culverts out here were made of corrugated steel. Some of them are concrete. If we're treating our roads with salt, that doesn't help. Over the years, they rot out. Before any rain event or forecasted heavy event, we'll take some time the day before and we check a lot of our low-lying culverts and make sure all of our catch basin tops are clear of leaves and debris, just to make sure the water's gonna be able to exit the road and get to where it should go. Yeah, water will do what it wants to do. It'll find the path of least resistance, and you fix a washout here, maybe pave a little swale for it, give the water that place to go. A year later, the water wants to exit the road 100 feet down the road. So those types of washouts are something that we deal with, often.
So we're currently on the East Brook of Main Street here in Hampden. It's one of their major bridges in town. We're here today because this is one of their locations where they've had major flooding in the past. It's also a location where their bridge right now is in kind of a deficient condition where it has erosion on the beam 10 and 1 on the outside of it, and it's really caused by rust. We have tons of storms here in New England, especially snow, and salt is the easiest way to keep those roads clear and safe. The problem is that it's seeping through and it's causing these major holes at the seats of each side of the beam. The bridge itself is not deficient where it can't carry traffic, it's just those outside beams, the webbing itself can no longer handle the load of the vehicle. So this location, the town really brought to our attention saying, hey, you guys take a look at it and see if it's a high priority for the town.
All of my work is primarily in the state of Massachusetts. I've worked on over 100 bridges throughout my career. I've seen deterioration of all kinds. This one isn't surprising at all. As of right now, it doesn't even work for the 25-year flood. It gets overtopped on a regular basis. So we designed the bridge per the Mass DOT stream crossing standards. You have to look at the stream bed width upstream and downstream and kind of come up with an average. And typically what we do is you need to increase that span by 20% to meet stream crossing standards. For that, we determined that the proposed span for this bridge needed to be around 32 feet. And what that allows is it gives you a wider hydraulic opening so that during a heavy storm, it allows more room for the water to flow underneath the bridge. The existing bridge has a span length of around 16 feet. So clearly undersized hydraulically, which is why you see flooding issues. And then under normal conditions, it also provides more bank so that animals will be able to cross underneath the bridge along the bridge abutments.
A lot of times, when you get bridges and culverts, they're undersized. Big wide street before, bottleneck down, and then afterwards it opens back up. When you get that bottleneck, the level of the stream rises. And not only with that, the velocity gets more increased. If you look along the Main Street Bridge, the banks are very steep, which means the stream itself is getting very inside. So a lot of times, the more and more inside you look at a river, that means probably there's going to be a bottleneck either upstream or downstream that's causing this sort of deep channel erosion, which is making it create a V instead of looking more of like a parabolic look, it's gonna be more of that V shape, which again, just because the velocity underneath the water is so strong, it just causes a lot of erosion downstream specifically. So another important thing about hydraulic capacity, again, is when you have these large storms, all these trees come down, you see them dammed up against these bridge structures, and they'll keep damming up, and all of a sudden you see the bridge fail. The reason why the bridge is failing is because there's so much excess pressure on the bridge that it wasn't designed for. When you open up those banks, it helps with climate resiliency when you have these flooding situations, because the worst thing that can happen is that, you get these large floods, and all of a sudden a bridge is washed out, and the emergency services from one side of town can't get to the other side during these major storm events. So it really was a main characteristic, not only, to fix the bridge because of its deficiencies, but also to make sure that when we're fixing it, we're making it wide enough to allow it to flood its banks when it needs to, but not so much elevate the water when it's going through, just allow more water through, but at a lower elevation.
As part of the MVP grant process, they also are encouraging communities to look at long-term solutions. So not only to replace the bridge, but what other things can occur within the community to improve the resiliency at the bridge?
One thing related to this brook in particular that we're interested in working with the town with is you can see just to the left of the bridge, there's a pipe sticking out of the bank. That pipe is carrying stormwater off of the roads and to some degree off of a corner of our parking lot at the sanctuary. Whenever I see a pipe just sticking straight into a brook, I think, wow, there's an opportunity to improve things. The water coming off of the pavement has elevated temperature, it's probably got elevated pollutants, and it's an impairment in terms of hydrology in storm response. Like that water reaches the brook a lot faster than it would if it were kind of filtering through a forest. So all of those things, we can essentially engineer constructed wetlands to perform those functions. So those are all things that we are super excited to work with the town on figuring out that and addressing that outfall here.
20th century infrastructure built for a 21st century world, those two things aren't going to match up. So at some point, the need to replace stuff is going to be very great. So I think on our end, it's providing that assist, that boost in a way that helps towns jumpstart their action towards addressing a concern that's been lingering for a while.
I think I would want the public to know that the town is being proactive to try to address a lot of these issues. The process is slow and it's expensive, but in the end, it's much cheaper to address these issues now than to have to deal with the emergencies and the hassles that would happen if the road were to wash out, for instance. So the town's being proactive. It's a lengthy process, but we have to be patient. I like working with volunteers, I like working with board members. Most of those positions are unpaid, so working with people who are passionate about what they're doing makes my job easier and more interesting.
If I were to say anything about the town and its people, it would be don't be afraid to come to the town hall and talk. Anything you want to know about the town is right here.
One of my favorite things about Laughing Brook, if we zoom back in time by 12,000 years, we would have been underwater. And sediments were just blasting off the landscape and filled that lake with sand and gravel. Then after the glaciers receded and the lake bed drained, the Scantic River, East Brook, Big Brook, carved down through all of that material. And it left this great landscape.
I think we've got a good crew here and we're all committed to making the town look nice and keeping people safe and really making travel through town pleasurable.
Wow.
That was pretty impressive.
I was going to say, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some more work you can do in town if you'd like.
Glad you all like that. I think that they did a great job on the video.
Thank you.
Really well.
Exactly.
And it gives a lot of good messages. So appreciate the feedback.
And what do you have for us in terms of update?
Do you want to shift your chairs around so you're facing?
Yeah, I'm ready to provide an update anytime. If I can through the chair.
Yes.
I just want to ask Taylor if you just distribute these flyers for the people that are here tonight. And we are gathering signatures. It's more for the MVP process.
John,
Select-board,
shift,
so if you all don't mind.
shift around so you're facing us better.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
I feel like talking to your side is like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So anytime you want to bring up the presentation, Brian, I'll get started.
Rearrange it.
Come on
All
over.
right, we got the presentation.
You know you
next.
want.
I know, but. Would you all like hard copies for yourself?
Yeah, that'd be great.
For the whole audience, but I have enough of them.
That's fine. We can make copies if they want them after.
Yeah, I have a few extras.
Thanks.
For sure. Well, for the record.
You guys did that? You guys, really? That was incredible video work. That drone stuff was really nice. And Brian's makeup was on point. I must say. Brian, you look great.
Thanks.
I'm thinking, you know, we might want to hire them for our autobiography. You know,
Right.
Phil.
Maybe you could document the move, because we take book by book over to the Thornburg.
All right, so you fire away.
All right, so good evening. Thank you for sharing some time with us this evening, and thank you, Andrew, for coming to tonight's meeting as well. This is an update on the status of your municipal vulnerability preparedness fiscal year 25 action grant, in particular the Main Street Bridge replacement design and the green infrastructure preliminary design. For our agenda, we're going to talk about the status of the bridge permitting, the bridge and roadway design, followed by the bridge right-of-way and the green infrastructure design, and then talk a little bit about the community outreach videos where we just watched 2 of the 3 videos. One was a trailer, and the other one was the overall comprehensive about coverage, bridges, and watersheds. Then we'll talk about next steps and open it up to questions and answers. With regard to the bridge permitting status, the bridge design has been permitted. We've gone through the Conservation Commission and received an order of conditions, and that was recorded last fall. The Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program has reviewed the project and provided comments, and we addressed all those comments through the Conservation Commission process. The Massachusetts Historical Commission has received, reviewed, and approved the project notification form. The pre-construction notification has been sent off to the Army Corps of Engineers. It's kind of just, project was such a low level as far as bridge impacts goes, it's just basically a notification requirement. And the Chapter 85 final design submission is going to go in end of this month, beginning of June. We were delayed waiting for resolution of one of their comments, so we don't expect to have the bridge approval, but the design will be in and subject to bridge approval, and we'll watch it through the process and make sure it gets done. If they have any questions, we'll deal with them, even if they go beyond the grant period.
What is that period? What is the grant
The
period?
grant period closes at the end of June.
End of June.
Yes. Next is just to talk about the roadway design status. So as I indicated, we've addressed all the Mass DOT Chapter 85 review comments, and we're currently preparing the final bridge design for submission planned for the end of this week. On the bridge right-of-way construction easement status, we have prepared, the preliminary right-of-way plans were completed. We've drafted a easement agreement, and it's being distributed for review between town officials and Mass Audubon. And they're currently communicating again with each other with regard to the language of those easements. Just basically a formality of going back and forth. We expect to have that done. We're hoping to get it done, if not this week, early in June. So what will happen is those documents will exist, the preliminary, the easement plan and the easement document and the easement, I'll call it deed for lack of other description, but the easement agreement. But ultimately, before you can execute those, I think you know you'll have to pass a article at town meeting, and then you'll have the authority to execute. So those documents will be in place when you're ready to execute them. And then on the green infrastructure, low impact design. So we went through, as you know, a couple on the earlier grants, looking at some pretty varying size, large scale, small scale suggestions at the Laughing Brook site on the corner of Glendale Road and Main Street. And through coordination with both town and Mass Audubon, we came up with a design that's, I guess I'll say, more realistic and easier to maintain by the highway department staff, certainly something much smaller, very close to the right-of-way, and still does achieve the, the goals of it and objectives of some pre-treatment. And while it's called a preliminary design, should the town wish to go forward with it, you could probably build it based off the plans that we have. It's not really anything structurally challenging, just grading and basically building a basin. And adding the.
I would think from your background in DPW highway, you understand the challenges on both sides.
I do.
So I think you integrated that in.
We did.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're listening to, now I know you know them just by asking the question, but just for the record, for the public. One is finding the space, finding an abutting landowner that's willing to let you go onto their land. But then also, once you do that, it becomes something that the town is responsible for maintaining.
Right.
And that in itself is a challenge, just through forces of manpower of all the things they have to maintain already. And so it needs to be something that can be easily maintained, a few hours, just a couple of times a year, and also something where you can see it all the time. You don't want something big off the road where you don't know if there's a problem because you can't see it.
Like a retention pond or something that's just buried and then you're responsible for cleaning it out, right?
Correct. And what this is, it's an infiltration forebay, so it would be something that wouldn't hold water for a long enough period to be like a mosquito threat or something like that, but would provide that treatment. And so just to talk about the design, it minimizes impacts of the Mass Audubon Sanctuary, which is important because that's natural heritage and endangered species habitat as well, something that's easy to inspect and maintain. And that design has been submitted already, was submitted at the end of last week. And this next slide is just a graphic illustration of it.
Someday we'll get it. I don't know why this keeps doing this. I know, right?
So it's a small little basin just kind of tucked in that corner of Glendale Road and Main Street. It may even look bigger in the graphics than it is in real life, or it is conceptually. It's probably about the size of this. Because this tree is not being taken.
So the water that goes in there, Steve, is from roadway or from further up?
It would come from the roadway. We would redirect it to catch basin just to the right where that arrow is.
Capture it before it goes to the brook, basically?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Now just to chat a little about the outreach videos. So the intent of the outreach videos is to document Hampden's MVP journey, and it funded 3 videos. And the videos are intended to serve as a resource both for the community and for MVP and other communities to be able to see the similar challenges in their community that your community has and how they might be able to address them for themselves as well. And just to talk about the videos, next slide, please. The first video is referred to as Mother Nature Knows Best, and that's strengthening Hampden's infrastructure with nature-based solutions. That video we did not watch tonight. That video is approximately 18 minutes and 50 seconds long. Video 2 was the second video we watched tonight, and that's called Bridges, Culverts, and Watersheds, Oh My, and it speaks to Hampden's MVP journey. It's approximately 21 minutes long. And then the first video we watched is the trailer. So that's why you saw a little bit of repetition, because it kind of mixes in cuts from both videos. And then if anyone wishes to watch the videos that are available on the Hampden Project website, which not only has all the videos, but everything that's been done through the MVP process through the last 2 MVP grants. There's also another host website that deals with your first MVP grant, where you were paired up with the East Long Meadow, so the 2 are kind of separate. We didn't want to carry East Long Meadow through Hampden's journey. And this is just information with regard to the project website. Is there anything that you would like to add, Perry, with regard to it? So Perry is our producer of the video. Sorry if I'm using the wrong title.
That's right.
And great job. We've worked with Perry before, a few years ago, when I was with the town of Spencer. Anything you want to add, Perry?
Well, it was a really wonderful experience to come. I live up in Amherst, and to come down to Hampden and learn about the town and see how the different groups within the community are working together, really to take care of Hampden first and foremost, and to put out there the concerns that they have. What really stood out for me is there's the infrastructure, but in talking with Mark Langone, I said to him that, really want infrastructure and public works to be highlighted in all these videos. And he said, yes, public infrastructure and especially public works is something where not a lot of young people are going into. And these videos I can see being used as an educational tool just to get young people interested in their community, interested in the work that you're doing. And it's just a matter of getting those eyes on these stories for the youth. And the green infrastructure part of the project really holds a place in my heart, because I grew up in Peabody, Massachusetts, and Peabody has a bunch of flooding issues. And only when they put in the retaining ponds and cleaned out the culverts and pulled out old cars out underneath Peabody Square did they really get a hold of these flooding issues. And as a kid, I never even knew that the North River flowed through that town. And the Scantic River, I'm sure everybody's familiar with it, but these rivers and the watersheds that run through our town, they really, they provide so much quality of life to young people and to old people alike. And I think that these videos, I would like to think that they help draw attention to not only the infrastructure, but the watersheds and the things that you can do to help both along. And the work that I see being done in Salem, just a very modest little rain garden, runs for a whole commercial district area, and it captures all that rainwater before it goes into the North River. And what I see that doing for the community is really special. And it's something that I would have loved to have seen when I was a kid, walking around, seeing people from all walks of life participating with sort of the lead group, which is Salem Sound Coast Watch. All these volunteers come in 3 times a year, and they just clean that whole area up. And it makes this one area that used to be dilapidated, run down, just a pleasure to be in. And they're putting condos up all around now. I mean, it is a desirable place. But I think this green infrastructure really plays a huge role in why people want to live in these areas.
Well, I think by putting the light on it, it's kind of like that old adage, nobody wants to know how sausage is made.
Yeah.
Everybody enjoys it when it's done.
Yeah.
This is the background to how the infrastructure that people in town enjoy,
That's right.
but nobody knows about it. You brought the light to it, I think that's well appreciated.
Thank you.
Now, the hard talk is,
What next?
what's it gonna cost? I mean, did the grant cover everything we've done so far?
The grant has covered everything that you've done so far. So the design will be completed, and now it's a matter of coordinating with a combination of Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and the PVC MPO and the district bridge engineer to try to get it programmed and funded on the tip.
Well, that was our hope. I mean, we talked about the tip before. Then we have, I believe, the other bridge, the Rockadundy Bridge, has been submitted by the state. They submitted on our behalf, I guess, for the tip program. But we've been told that we're not limited to one tip application at a time.
No, it's 100%.
They stand alone.
They'll stand alone, and they'll be considered alone, versus with regard to their condition, and that's obviously still a priority because of your emergency services if you lose it.
Well, I think this should be a much higher priority. We talked about the fact that the Rockadundy came out of nowhere. and nobody had any thought of any problem with it. So this is the priority, along with the, obviously, the Ballard Brook small bridge thing that we're going through with the state.
Right.
But that's totally separate from what you're doing, and we're hoping that that grant will cover the vast majority of that cost under the small bridge program.
Understood, I'm not familiar with those costs, obviously, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, it's 500, so it's not, you're in the 3 to 4 range on this, right?
I should have looked at the estimate before I came here. I think we're closer to 3 than 4.
I like that. But like you go back to, nobody understands. I mean, I think, Don, we have the headwaters of the Mill River here in the western part of town. And nobody knows that's there. It's like a hidden part of it.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Because I know where it is in Northampton, I would have thought it would have been up there.
So what's our next step?
Your next step is saying all the things you just said to me, really, to Mass DOT and the bridge engineer. The bridge program trickles down more from Mass DOT to the MPOs than vice versa. Assuming you've been to one or more MPO meetings, they discuss the roadway projects a lot more, and that's when they vote and deliberate. The bridge projects are more delivered by Mass DOT, meaning the decision on which one's a program is more Mass DOT driven than MPO driven.
Well, I was attending some of those meetings back in the Bob day, and I really appreciate you working with Bob Markle on getting this started along. But some of those Zoom meetings on the Rockadundy thing with 40 engineers on the screen, you almost need a second monitor to get everybody on there.
Mass DOT review.
There you go. And I'm a little worried that that's been dragging on for 2 years and they haven't even got, we just did the little right-of-way thing, I think, for them in the survey. The time frame for this, I mean, we're talking about, I was here during the 2005 flood when the bridge was overflowed and the town was cut in half, just like what you're warning about now.
Right.
And the chances of 20 years later, something more severe happening. And it seems like we're balancing when this can get done versus the danger, the possible danger coming along. What do you envision a time frame for this in terms of the state acting on our TIP application?
That's very unpredictable, it kind of varies based on community and condition of the bridge. I feel like they should
prioritize.
Prioritize is a good word.
Okay.
And I don't think that's something that should really drag on just based on the condition of the bridge. You're getting your inspection reports and each one it's a little worse than the last one, last time you had to put barrels out there.
I think that has to help us.
And
if they directed us to do that, then they acknowledge there's a deficiency.
correct.
Right.
And that's really, just because it's snow doesn't mean you don't go back in another month, or you go, perhaps over the district bridge engineer's head and go to the state bridge engineer, Alex Bardo, and potentially ask them. But the best way is, and this is based on, I've been involved with the MPO and your position as a Tommy before, is dealing with the district bridge engineer and just making them aware of all the things that you said, that this is really our priority over all of these other bridges. The message is obvious. Your emergency services would be cut off if you lose Main Street to the other side of the town.
And your point is that this checks 2 boxes, bridge deficiency and then whatever you want to call it, the vulnerability part of it as well. So it's not just one thing, it's both things.
They will recognize those things because, like your South Street Bridge, that got a small bridge grant, the effect that it has on emergency response is a major factor when they're prioritizing bridges. And the possibility of that bridge having an effect on emergency services, meaning that it's deteriorated to the point to where something's going to happen, and if you wait longer, then you are going to have an effect on emergency services. What I mean, not only the delay that it would cause, but the potential likelihood. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Hope that helps.
So they'll send us a check next week.
I wish I could say that. I've had some, in my community, I had one that literally took 20 years, but it wasn't as bad a condition as this.
Okay.
And it basically got to a condition similar to this when finally we got it programmed.
All right. I mean, the thing you talked about, and Brian as well, and you're aware of funding challenges we have. Don and I have been, and Craig, of course, when he was here, have been facing some large projects on the horizon, both in moving the town hall, the fire station, repair of buildings, et cetera, and everything has to be prioritized. In some way, we have to put this on the board, you know, is it here, 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 whatever.
All of those messages help, because they'll oftentimes first answer, well, you own the bridge, use your TEPTN money, you want to use this money. You also have arguments that you've had all of those things you've had to do and you didn't even mention, plus you have the water work.
Right.
And the PFAS and associated with that, and those are all driving your rates up.
Right.
I haven't seen what your warrant article is like, but I think all of these things are causing a warrant article action and some type of adjustment to your.
But as you said,
tax base.
because of your use of it in the past, both in your prior life, so to speak, Chapter 90 comes nowhere close to what we need to get done here. We're barely keeping up with road work when they keep it flat and the cost of materials goes up. You did 40 miles last year, you do 38 this year, you do 36 the year next,
Right, Chapter 90 isn't your answer, because you have to stop doing work for 10 years to
Exactly.
get enough Chapter 90.
Give us the
money
whole
to be
bond
able to-
right now.
And then the price of the bridge has gone up by then.
Probably, right. We're willing to get a used bridge if somebody has one here.
They're looking to fund more bridges, they're always trying to do bridge projects, I think it's just a matter of getting that message out to the planning commission and the district. And district who's the main decision maker, but you can use one kind of against the other if you don't think one is hearing your message, if you don't think the bridge section is hearing your.
Okay, are we taking the lead on the application next, or are you still guiding us through that?
That would be more on the town. It's not really an application process. It's, you can file, you can use the map it and request it through that way, and I guess that could be considered an application process. And that's pretty easy and straightforward to use. I'm not sure if Mark or the town administrator controls that primarily, or both.
Probably
that should be easy to use to initiate some communication with the district. But my suggestion would be on the phone, talking to the district bridge engineer, or stopping by his office if you have a report.
I was gonna say that, I think face-to-face is somewhere, where are they located?
They're located up in Northampton.
Easy trip for Brian, good.
Yeah.
He lives in Southampton, perfect.
Yeah, right off of 91, I can't say that I know what the exit is, but it's right there on the, is it King Road or something?
King Street? Or
King
on that
Street,
area?
yeah, it's right parallel to 91 right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I know it's north of exit 18, but how far, I don't know.
Well, you've been working on this for quite a while. You and Mary have been the lead on this project that we've seen. And I have to say, we have to thank you for the attention you've given to it.
Appreciate working with you all. It's been a good project. We've enjoyed working on it. We really hope you get it funded and see it built. Always available to answer any questions when you're dealing with any of those parties. I talked to them about it too. I see some of those people unofficially in different settings. I haven't seen the district bridge engineer in a couple of years, but I've seen your local aid people and some of your other district project engineers, and meeting the project engineer, and at least mention to them that the town, has this design and trying to get it funded.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't thank the Audubon as well. I mean, working with Jonah, et cetera, the people there, Tom, they've been tremendous partners in this whole thing. We couldn't do this if they weren't cooperating with us in the first place.
100%. If they weren't cooperating,
it would be so much more difficult. Right.
You have to access their land in one way or another to even be able to build the bridge.
Right.
And then also with the MVP process, you have to have those other factors involved, the resiliency, the water quality type components, and without them, you wouldn't have been able to bring in some of those aspects into the project to get to where you are right now.
Anything else? Brian?
So Brian, you're ready to move ahead?
Yep.
Got your shovel?
Talk to Mark, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice seeing you all. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm nominating you for an award, some kind of award, I'm telling you. Really good. The drone work, right. But I mean, the cutting and pasting was perfect, I don't know why you cut Don and I out of it, really. Had new shirts, we had everything.
Thanks
They
very
even got a haircut and all.
Both of them?
Both of them.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I got both of them cut.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Chief, do you have something for us,
I do, sir.
or someone for us? Here, move these around, turn these chairs around, get some help in here.
I'm gonna move the laptop.
What?
Fine nowadays.
I'm gonna switch this plug back over.
What are you doing?
Don't worry.
We're off screen.
So, good evening, Select Board.
Good evening.
I am here to ask for an appointment of a new sergeant. As you know, we had a resignation of an officer who was a sergeant back in December, and we started the process for the sergeant. According to our policy, we have an exam which 4 officers within the agency asked to take it, which were qualified. All 4 of them passed the exam. Then we went into an interview process, which was myself, Sergeant Yvonne, Sergeant Cooney, and the Chief Stephen Kozlowski from Munson Police Department. Did an interview process, off of the interview, the exam, and then looking into their personnel file, there is a point process, there's a point system that's put into place. And the top 2 candidates that scored the highest points, as you can see before you, are Jeff Beatty and Jason Roth. Then it goes off of that for the other 2 candidates. According to the exam, the education, which Jeff here does have a bachelor's degree, his attendance, his seniority of 12 years, which is including his part-time reserve work with us, job performance in the interview, he scored a 92.4. He scored a 94.7. And then the other candidate scored a 92.4. It'll be our recommendation of the committee to recommend Jeff Beatty as our next sergeant for the Hampden Police Department, which I think he's done his due diligence in leadership classes over the last couple of years. He was very close, as you guys remember, in the last one that we appointed in 2023. And he just missed that. He went ahead and did some leadership classes, settled in, and I think he's going to be a great leader for our agency. So I'd ask for your recommendation.
You want the job?
I do, sir.
Okay, just checking. I mean, he's not forcing you into it or
No,
something.
sir.
Okay, great.
How many years you been with this department?
I've been full-time for 8 years here, 12 overall as a reserve officer as well.
I mean, we have the recommendation done, we've got the family here. I mean, it's got the stripes already.
Seems
We
like
didn't have the cake, but we do have cookies, so, you know.
Thank you.
I would like to endorse the chief's recommendation to appoint Officer Beatty as a sergeant.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Second? Any further discussion?
no further discussion on my part, sir.
All right.
You, got anything to say?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can we get a photo with the family? And,
We always want a photo.
we always want a photo op, you know that, right? Thank you.
Chief, well done. 4, I'll tell you, 4 passing is pretty impressive.
No, that was very,
What was the number this
they
year?
dug in,
What was the number this year?
70.
Wow, it's
And
still
I had 90s and 80s. So they, so we need a picture over here, come on.
Everybody,
He's coming in.
just next to the sergeant here.
Come on, Sarge.
Brian, you've been in enough pictures already.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I don't do stills anymore, I just do
Yeah, I know, you're in.
I just do
What
videos.
takes did they do? You guys want to get around Dad? We're going to stare out this way
Perfect.
here?
Very proud of your dad.
Yeah, absolutely. You did a great job. We got you in there, sir? We got everybody?
You want to go left or right so they're looking? I'll go first.
Oh, it'll take me a while. I'm ready. There you go.
There we go.
All right, congratulations, Sarge.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're Sergeant
Very well done.
Or formality. Those are good ones. Those are the good meetings.
All right.
Now,
Ay, ay, ay. All right, now we got all kinds
there's a
of.
rumor you're leaving.
Yeah, there's a rumor.
The yard needs to be done, the wife wants the house
Wife,
cleaned.
there's a lot of to-do.
Really?
Let me tell you.
Honey-do
More than
list is like here?
After I gave her my retirement, I found that the list is getting really big.
Yeah. Tell her, I still gotta go in though, but.
Yeah.
All right. What's the deal? Huh? Well,
All right.
July 17th.
July, yeah, okay, I thought, right, so it did,
Last day, right?
17th.
so, okay, so, yeah, so July 17th, I would, I am expecting that to be my last day.
Expecting it or like?
It is,
Gonna be.
it's going to be my last day.
You sure?
Sure.
You have any consideration? Wait, what's the replacement process?
So we've been a few different ways over the last several years. The most recent that we had before I became chief, the board opted to do an interim chief for the period of time. Well, the interim chief looked at the inside of the agency to find out if there was any candidates that were qualified to become our next chief. Chief Marquis,
right?
Chief Marquis retired, right? So there's an interim chief services that's out there that's sponsored through Mass Chiefs, which we could do that. We can appoint a acting chief if there was a feel for that by our board. And then there's a process that we have to look to for searching for a new chief. And
Does post have anything to do with this? I mean, is there like a chief certification or?
so a chief is certified through post. They do certify our chiefs. So what we're going to be looking for is a chief that's going to be certified.
Is it a test?
Not prior.
No.
It's all after, it's all after.
So usually it's based on the A through H, the alphabet of your last name is. So I'm certified to 2027 because I'm a T. So there's A through H's that their certification of the first 3 years is expiring on 2026. So if we find someone with the last name of A through H, then that chief is going to be up for a recertification, which usually comes down through the town administrators involved. And it's a list of questions, make sure that they've completed their in-service, make sure that they've done their online or in-person in-service, done any type of in-house training for firearms, first responders, and then they have been a prior police officer that's been accepted or already certified once before. So post does have a say, obviously at some point in the way.
But you're talking about a lateral chief move, somebody who's already a chief.
Right.
We're talking, I think now, somebody who was, we were promoting to a chief.
And do they have to have some kind of certification before?
Well, we're all post-certified. Okay, so if you were to step up to become a chief, then at the time of your last name coming, you would be certified as a chief at that point in time.
Okay.
So currently, any officer that's certified through post would come through the chief of police, or my designee, I would certify them. If you're a chief of police, through the town administrator, manager, and i.e. the select board are the ones who are the bosses that would make sure that that certification, so Brian here would be signing off on the chief certification. Bob Markville signed off on mine.
Is it different than just a police officer?
That's the question.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We're all police officers in Massachusetts recognized by post, certified police officers. You are just actually, the chief of police has to ask the same questions that are asked of you, and the same status, right?
Okay. All right, so now you're allegedly leaving on July 17th.
Have we accepted that?
No, we have
I
not.
didn't think so, no.
So,
Do we need to talk to Mrs. Trombley about this?
no, so I'm thinking of the time, I think one of the reasons the last time we got a interim chief was because we only had, I believe, 2 weeks' notice. Was it 2 weeks'
It was
notice?
pretty short notice.
There was, I saw there was a 30-day window, and mine went to the 60-day window, and
Okay.
there's other.
I think we changed the contract to 60 days.
But it's still.
Board changed it to 60.
To do a thorough job, I think it is a short window.
Just 51 days. 51 days.
I did communicate with Now, depending where the board's looking to go, there are assessment centers out there. There are interviews that are just done as per se by the Board of Selectmen of putting out something in the generalized posting of either full-time, really. Like, I mean, we're gonna be looking for another full-time officer, and it's bringing in the resumes, reviewing them, and trying to put someone on right away before someone else takes them. Chief's a little bit different. The individuals who are applying for a chief want to come over to that community, whether they're a captain, a lieutenant, or a super sergeant from another agency in lead in a way. So they're coming to and applying to here. They're not looking to jump all over the place. So there's that 30-day window that they've suggested that you put out for approximately 30 days, could be less, and see what you got for your candidates, and then choose to do an assessment center if you wanted to, or we could obviously have a search committee.
Center is an independent
Yes.
group?
So assessment centers are independent groups. There are a few of them out there. They range anywhere from that $6,000 to $12,000, $13,000, depending what you want done. You could have a full-blown search, which they come in and push it out to out-of-state, in-state, any other New England chiefs, just all over the place. Then they come in and they do the whole process and come to the board with 3 or 4 candidates, or the top 2 candidates. Then there's a part that the town administrator and the board can get together, put out a general job description of what we're looking for in a chief, what qualifications we're looking in a chief, degrees and years of service and rank, have interviews, and then you could come down to 3 or 4 candidates that you have applied, that you're interested in, go through an assessment center, which would bring you through complaints brought into the agency, budgeting, a whole lineup of stuff that we would want our chief to have for qualifications. And then you make that pick at that point of a top candidate, sort of like our point structure has been set up here.
That's a process. One thing, Don, with the way the board is right now, I'm loath on some of these things here to do some things before we get our 3rd member, because this is a big step for the town, and should we have that input at the same time? Which almost would lead back to, again, what we did last time, an interim, somebody we appoint that is probably not interested in the full-time job, which is good. So it was last time worked out great, I thought.
Right. So what happens with the interim services are a retired chief of police that comes, that's been retired for 2 to 3 years, that's still somewhat knowledgeable and active about all the requirements and commitments.
Do they have to be post to act in this capacity?
Yes.
Still have to have a current?
They still have their post certification that's going on, right? And they're knowledgeable enough that you just got out of a job that they would be asked to come over. I did a little bit of research. There's a few local chiefs in our Western Mass that's recently retired over the last 1, 2, 3 years that may be interested. If that's something that a direction the board would like to go, I can certainly speak with the executive director of Mass Chiefs who would contact him and see if we have somebody. Out east, about a 2.5-hour ride, we have a few more chiefs that have retired and probably would be maybe interested and available. And they try to fit the small town atmosphere of those chiefs that just retired recently. Like, say if there was someone retired from Upton that's very similar in our size, that's who they would be looking to get.
But the travel might be a
The
little.
travel could be an issue, if, and so there are a couple that are out there.
Is that a direction you think you might want to look at, Don?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My concern is we're getting a new board member the 23rd, first meeting the 24th, 4th of July. We have another resignation of a sergeant.
Yes, we do.
You're leaving the 17th.
Right.
We got 2 new sergeants, maybe.
Yes, and that's one of the things that.
One old sergeant. Oh, I mean.
Older.
Been here.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. We've got a younger leadership team that's coming in, that's hopefully they're going to be working good and well together as they come together and move our agency forward. So, the timing with that 2 sergeants getting a little wet, and then we're jumping into a new chief also at that time. But probably not a bad thing for timing for a new chief to come in with the leadership ways of they want to move our agency forward. But you're right, timing is all over that. I mean, there are also, I mean, you know, in the past, there has been acting chiefs that have been put into that position, coming from internal, which we've had. And, you know, but all due diligence to the town, the officers in the department and all that, we need to look at the big picture. And see what else.
Is there any, when you say a retired chief coming in, do they have to be retired for a certain period before they can come in as interim, or no?
No. You could have, no.
It could be you.
It could, you're absolutely right, it could be me. So we could make that agreement too, we can maybe talk about that. No, never know, right?
Well-
You never know, you think about it, right? Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there like, well, but as long as it doesn't mess up your, I mean, obviously this is part of a process.
We've got a big vacation and, you know, towards the end of July, you know, end of July, we got a vacation, but, you know, we could, you know.
Throw it out there.
Could you do that with your retirement?
So within the
Give
retirement,
somebody a certain number of hours, right?
so there's a certain amount of monies and hours that equal out that you could do, right, right.
I'm just thinking, so, for transition period wise.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I remember Bob's numbers would be nothing close to, I mean, if, say it took a month, it would be nothing close to impacting the maximum hours you can do.
Right.
And, I mean,
Separate contract.
right, but again, it would, I hate to say it, it would solve check off quite a few boxes right there.
I definitely have to consider.
We throw it out there.
You know, I throw it out there, right, it's something for discussion that, because obviously, like I said, the date is a strong date, and I've pretty much have leaned towards it. Now, you know, obviously, if there's something like that were to come back, I probably would want to not be here again every day. And that's what I'm trying to get away from and trying to, you know.
Well, it's not different than your vacation time at that point. You've got a trip planned.
I've got
X number of days.
Right, I got my 10 days.
Right, so, but I mean, that's no different than, shoot, you get what, 5 weeks now?
I've got 6 weeks.
6 weeks, so it's no different than your vacation time during the year, really.
Right.
So I think it's something for the board to consider at that point, too.
There's a possibility, there's a possibility.
But I still think you should reach out to some of the other retired chiefs and see if, because it'll be less stress on you, because you're devoting to the family now. You promised them, look, I said we'd step back, and my time is yours. And that's a
Just
commendable
kidding.
thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just kidding, yeah.
Well, that'll go over big.
Yeah. I might be living.
Watching right now?
I may be living in the camper that I have. Everybody got an ADU? Can I put an ADU I can rent? I can be your relative.
All right, we gotta think about this.
Okay, so there are some options there. I can reach back out to Mass Chiefs tomorrow and literally see if there is someone interested that's in this area. I do know of a few chiefs that did retire recently, and if they are, that would begin a negotiation process with the board, as we did before.
So our options are acting, which would appoint someone from inside to be acting.
It would be our only sergeant we currently have.
Yeah, right.
So we would appoint that individual acting, and then you would open up to do a look for a full-time permanent.
Did we touch on, I mean, are we internally posting this or not?
Haven't done anything yet.
No, but I'm
It's
saying.
solely up to the board of what they were looking to do, right? I mean, you may be yes or no, right? It's a discussion we can have, obviously.
Or acting, or an interim, or what they call, is it interim?
Interim, yeah. Interim.
Or just deny this.
Yeah, we could, yeah. Wow, tough crowd. You should have, give me more cookies to eat or something, I don't know.
That's how we keep the comments down, the mouth.
I'm on a sugar high now.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah, I can see that, definitely.
All right, we gotta think about this.
Right, and you're gonna reach out anyhow.
I mean, either way, and then
No, I
like,
think it's
yeah, and then,
worthwhile reaching out to some other
obviously,
people.
that's for, to do what we gotta do right now, but then moving forward, that's again, another discussion that has to have and come
You're
up.
gonna move forward on the sergeant thing? We're gonna get,
So now we have a new
Another
sergeant
sergeant.
who's gonna stay on his midnight shift. And.
another sergeant retiring.
The sergeant's gonna be retiring July 5th. So what I'm, with the permission of the board, I was looking to put out to hire a new full-time officer. And once I get the new full-time officer put into place, we would look to go ahead and actually offer the next sergeant's position to the second one, because that's the way the policy does allow us from your list is good for 12 to 18 months.
Oh, okay.
Between the town and the union and that. So there's no reason to spend $2,600 on a new exam and start over. We got 4 candidates that passed, and the structure is there.
Okay.
And so I'm working on that. With your permission, I'll go ahead and put that ad in the paper this week. Look to find, pickings are probably going to be slim because there's a few agencies, unfortunately. State Police is running another 2 academies. There's a lot of movement, but.
Oh, you've had good luck in the past.
We have, this last one, I'm telling you, if we can get another one like this last one, then we'd be doing really well, so this will be good there. And then we'll just have to decide, what the plans are for interview process, and then for a chief, and then for an assessment center, if that's something you want to do, or stay away from it and just go with your interviews and questions.
Well, that type of thing, Don, I don't think we need to be waiting a lot on that.
On the new person, no.
Yeah. So is this going to be, keep it on the agenda type thing, and I'll touch on it next week?
Yeah, we'll decide next week how we're going to proceed with this.
Okay, so I'll work on the replacement of the new officer.
Yep.
And I'll work on the
contacts
of what else we have out there, if anything, again, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.
And then we'll vote on the letter. We'll let you know.
So we're gonna hang it loose for a little while out there. Oh, boy, Warren, I'm not sure.
I just want to let you know that Jane never got one.
Yeah.
Really?
Never signed it.
Craig did.
Oh,
Yeah, well, he
somebody
left.
signed it. Was someone sleeping and you just kind of use their arm? That's their
They got the auto pen.
Auto pen.
They sign everything for
A
us.
digital pen that's out there.
Nice.
Okay.
So.
Sorry,
Was I done, or?
You're done.
I think so.
I'm done.
You're out of here.
Unless you want to stay for the
You're
next one.
retired.
Yeah, I would actually like to. I'd be interested to see what's going
Here,
on.
take the bag with you.
I'm gonna sit over here.
Open meeting, so, yeah. Sergeant, long time no see.
All right.
Yeah, it's been like minutes.
How many of those double poles they got going?
A lot.
I counted 11 left.
Yeah.
Not that I'm obsessed with this.
I saw you walking up and down with that blue, yellow jacket. They did quite a bit on,
They did a lot.
certainly had a good crew there.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about the water thing? How are they doing there?
Good. It's
They're
moving
moving
along.
fast too, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would expect they'll be done with Glendale Road probably next 2 days.
Really?
Yeah, they're moving.
It's an accomplished crew,
Yes.
company, so, yeah.
Yep, they work.
All right,
They don't stop.
so what's the deal here? What do you want, what's your,
Well, just with everything going on, with the possibility of promoting or hiring, given the way we wrote the educational incentive, I thought we should look at addressing a couple of the items, because potentially you could end up paying, like we did this past time, with the, because of the date for that. There was some question with Sergeant Cooney whether he was going to receive his stipend for uniform allowance. So we wanted to try and hash it all out and figure out where we stand with all that.
In terms of, because I recall the last time this came up, and this goes back to, I think, Sergeant Henry, who also, maybe before your time, who also retired after July 1st and got his at that time. So I didn't think this was really a question. Yeah, honestly,
neither did I.
honestly, that's why it's done.
Right. Right.
So
Correct.
you get your vacation time, you get your, everything that's in the thing because you were there part of the year.
Again, he just asked me to bring it up because there was some question, so we wanted to make sure.
well,
It's not prorated, I think it's a stipend.
Correct.
Yeah, and if we did it higher, that person, we'd have to fund the next person inside that year, probably.
Correct.
what are you talking about?
The education part.
Good.
Who's got an education part problem?
No, you're saying if Mike,
No, we're talking about the uniform allowance.
oh, we are?
Yeah.
I thought you said in the
So
email.
there was a
education
couple
law.
different, there was a
Oh,
couple
okay.
different topics.
Well, if the guy's retiring on the 5th of July, and the 4th of July is a holiday, he needs a new uniform for 3 days?
Well, again, it was done for the stipend or the draw account
You guys are killing me.
Because we changed to the cash versus receipts.
Right, but again, I mean, he's entitled to his vacation, he's entitled to the holidays, so the way I'm looking at the contract, he should be entitled to it. So that was,
So instead of the other part, which is thousands, you're here for 1,500, what is it?
well, I think it's two separate issues. So this past hire, we hired somebody in March, July 1, he's getting the educational incentive of 15 grand. So my understanding was there's some issue with that, we should probably prorate it for the first year hire, so somebody's not getting a huge chunk on July 1, when they've only been here like 3 months. So we were talking about prorating the first year to make it fair for the town for the educational incentive. You know, like the Quinn bill, you work your first year and then it's paid. So that's prorated. We never, when we did the educational incentive, we never thought about this, prorated it.
But technically, it's a bonus after prior service, so to speak. It's in lieu, basically, it's an acknowledgement of prior service.
Right, with the education.
Right.
So, I mean, we're open to trying to make it fair for the town.
All right, couple issues.
You different one, what's the other thing you got? Oh, well, we got a problem with the IT stuff.
Yes, nobody saw that coming, so here we are. So now we gotta, there's really nobody of the caliber to handle the major IT stuff, so.
We talked last time about reaching out to Tony and see if there was an amount, we had X number of dollars put aside for the IT person.
Yes.
Could that amount be used to basically sublet it, whatever you want to say, to the regional dispatch and have their person come over and handle things? A lot of it's done remotely as well, too, right? Remoting in?
Yes, there is that option. There's a lot of different options. The bottom line is the contract calls for it to be.
Two officers.
And
right.
while we didn't think that was going to be an issue.
Well, they also have to be qualified.
Well,
yeah.
Again,
yeah,
right. But the contract says one thing, so that's why I'm saying we should look at it and
change the words.
Correct it.
All right, well, that's possible.
Okay.
Would you rate that as something, again, we're talking about waiting for a full board, is that something that's so critical we can't wait a month?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it can wait. I'm just saying we should
be aware of it.
Given what the new hires coming up and the IT, there's going to be issues, so we need to, and it has to, you know, this is just my opinion, so I have to take it to the group and explain why, you know, bringing it up, so.
Great.
Well, I think all three of these can wait till the, I think.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
You know,
well,
we're gonna do what, the 24th, and we have to make a decision in a week, that's all.
Right.
The other thing is we already know we're going to have a bit of a financial issue anyhow, so all this will impact that, which will happen in October. So it's all going to be lumped together in terms of how we budget for it.
Well, and the
obviously retirements that weren't budgeted for are going to have to be.
Right.
Well, we gotta solve the uniform thing, and we gotta solve the education thing.
Language on the education.
Yeah, because if we're hiring somebody fairly quickly, I mean, in theory, it won't be that big of a difference because they'll be here, say, in August or whatever the case may be. So we're talking about a month, but if we get further down the road, we could run into the same issue continuing.
Someplace else, with somebody else.
Right.
Right, okay.
Right.
All right.
So, I mean.
Right, but you're saying that under the interpretation that's always been, even the person hired in August would not qualify for the Quinn because they have not completed.
He would qualify, it would just be prorated for the following July.
No, but I'm saying the other one, the old interpretation was, it was a pay for the previous year of service, you're getting your, and this goes back to a conversation we had back in the day with, when Jeff was taking it monthly.
I think you're
I'm
talking about
educational.
Well, you're talking about Quinn versus educational. So Quinn is done that
I know
way.
that, but that's how we kept, so to speak, the thought about the Quinn part, even though we're funding the whole thing altogether.
Yes.
And back when we were doing half and half, it was still treated that way. You know, Quinn paid half up until
Yes.
year, whatever, 2005.
Right, but if we're hiring someone in August, then they wouldn't get paid till July 1. So they would have those, they would get paid those months that they were here. Whereas now they're getting the full boat.
Right, prorate, I see what you're saying, so they're not gonna get their quid money in this calendar year, but as of July 1st, as of July 1st of the following
You're
year,
talking about the education.
I know, July 1st of the following year, they'd get 10 months of educational incentive. Okay, that's what I wanted to clear, yes.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
Because otherwise you could end up having 30 grand in.
Yeah,
Unexpected.
I got it.
Yeah.
All right, we got it.
Okay.
We'll let you know.
On the uniform stuff or everything?
We haven't decided, first I heard of it.
We'll first you heard of it, so we'll talk about it by next week. I mean, we got time to do that, right?
We do, yep, I'm just,
Okay.
like I said, he wanted me to bring it forward, so I.
All right, thank you, sir.
Already.
Do you want to talk about that Hatfield Cruiser that was 160 and they kept it in service?
I thought we could buy it.
30 years old. Why? Did you have one?
All right. What else we got here? We got
were from the February
TWB
church.
service agreements.
Yeah, I wanted to talk quickly about that.
And that's the kindly old ladies there. They good cookies.
So, in the course of my discussions with Herb Foley, the facilities person at TWB, he mentioned to me that the district was going to terminate service agreements with their vendors at the building. So they have agreements with Bigelow Power, which does the generator. And they have agreements with Well Design. I think they're out of East Long Meadow.
Well, Well Design we currently use for the alarm systems in town already. I think that's John Cibula maybe, is the guy who does that. So it would make sense that he.
Lake Chapin.
I'm saying Cibula guy ran, but I'm saying it makes sense that we could easily add them to our current fleet of buildings. The generator one though, since we have contracts with, I'd say it was Kingsley or somebody that does the two we have here, should we move that one so we have basically one company looking over all three generators rather than splitting it to another?
Possibly. I guess I would want to talk to Herb a little bit more. I think the generator is a little bit more complex than the other ones.
We're going to have actually a fourth one online, that they're looking over. So I think it's worth exploring with the current company. Is this a model you would?
Okay, I would reach out.
Yeah.
The next service due on the one at TWB would be, according to this company that they currently use, Bigelow Power, would be September.
Is it usually twice a year, I think here?
Twice a year, annual maintenance. I just want to be careful that we don't let some of these lapse.
Right.
I'm meeting with Well Design. I was going to meet with them tomorrow, but they pushed it back to the first week of June to talk about. I mean, the cameras obviously are not great there, or camera. I don't want to say too much, but the cameras there, and the fire and security systems are things that I think we probably want to keep in service. So I'll reach out to Kinsley, and then I included the service agreement for this Bigelow Power, so we can see if what we want to do with that at the next meeting probably.
I mentioned before, I still would like to have a conversation with Tony at some point. Both about, where we stand with the dispatch agreement. We've been asking before, is there any opportunity now that we've gone to a 3-town system to go back to the state for maybe a re-upping? And secondly, if dispatch is looking over our buildings, is there any opportunity through them to get a bit of a camera or alarm system as well?
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, we're supposed to have those quarterly meetings. I think of the dispatch committee. Do you go, or has it just been Scott?
I'm not notified of those.
And I think it's supposed to be the administrator, the chief of police.
I'll have to look at the contracts.
Yeah. And I know we just went into last year. What happens after 5 years? What is the next year, Bill?
We have to negotiate with.
So we need to
we
start
negotiate
talking
with
about that
Wilbraham.
pretty soon. Right.
Negotiate with Wilbraham.
Yeah. Oh, that should be good.
Well, that goes.
Okay. I move the new member does it.
Okay.
Mr. Happy over here.
So the end of the year schedule, I put that on there because we got to meet with advisory about transfers. We got to sign all, all the appointments.
Yeah.
What else do they have? I forgot. Yeah, divider is the big thing.
Yeah, that's actually-
End-of-year transfer type things.
Lauren has to, I think, reach out to the committees and figure out, do you want to be reappointed, basically? You ask them first. And do you want me to bring up that Board of Health thing or talk to Brian about it? Brian, you want to discuss that Board of Health thing?
Which one's that?
The ticket, the sticker.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We got to do some research on that. Mark does not have a quote yet on the refurbing the landing at this point, but I still think that we're going to be able to fit inside the budget we have now.
Okay.
I have no reports.
I have no report. Well, I do have a report. The planning committee met and we had a lively discussion about paying for capital improvements at
Oh, I saw that.
Thornton W. Burgess, the former, Wilbraham Middle School, and it was unproductive, as our past meetings have been. To put it mildly.
Summary, yeah.
Summary?
But it didn't, it was just unproductive. It wasn't like off the rails, per se, yeah.
Yet.
I'll say that.
All right, want to do the minutes? We got some minutes here.
Yeah.
One.
New font.
Minutes from sometime, at some period.
April 28th.
What was it?
April 28th.
Really? April 28th, oh yeah, okay. We met with the master plan committee regarding the master plan, accept the master plan. I bet you there's a lot of, that's all about master plan, recreation. We went through the budget with the advisory committee. We did some one-day alcohol license requests. We discussed the Rock into Summer Parks and Recreation Department. They're gonna continue, they're gonna have it, but no alcohol. Let's see, Selectboard, and that's about it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
With release.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. We have a TA report.
Yeah. So we're closing out the fire station generator project. That generator's online. We just need to close out the permits. Got the final inspection from the engineer done. Like you just mentioned, we're putting together the FY26 board appointments. Lauren's working hard on the FY26 insurance renewals. Water district, the project's moving along forward. You're still collecting right of entry forms from property owners to have permission to connect to the system. Is that about right, John? Yeah.
We're still looking for resolution on that one, the one we knew of that said, I don't want you on the property at all, even to get water or put filtering on. That we need something back from DEP that we can basically take them off the list.
That's still out there, yeah.
Okay.
That's still a lingering question, yep. I did follow up today with the highway union, because we don't have, I have not been.
Both of them?
Yeah, one remaining. I reached out to them today to see what was going on with that, because I haven't heard anything. So, we'll see. And a little while back, you recall that Mark filed to certify the, some of his temporary snowplow positions as seasonal with the Department of Unemployment, so that we wouldn't have to pay the employment fees, and that was denied. And the appeal hearing is, June 1st. So that's virtual, so I'll join Mark on that.
Why they deny it?
No idea. It seemed to meet all the criteria that was required for certifying a seasonal position. So we'll find out at the hearing why they denied it. Couple meetings at TWB coming up. Gonna have a discussion with entree and berm over at TWB and walk through the building, what needs to be done there.
Did we ever get a list from them for, I don't recall seeing it, generally they sit with Jane for what they want FY '26, like, you know, usually had a list of computer replacements, things like that here. The move shouldn't affect that, because that's all loose stuff.
No, it shouldn't.
Right.
I think I've seen one, I don't know if it's recent. I will talk to, I think Jolene is gonna be there tomorrow, so I'll
Okay,
make
I
sure.
remember that I see things that, you know, 10 is gonna be officially out and not off the books and not supported, and they had a list before of some computers that are still running 10 need to go to 11.
Yeah,
so.
there are those, yeah, for sure. That's all I got. Oh, do you wanna make a motion for the sign the election warrant?
Oh, I'll make a motion that we sign the election warrant, which we've already done.
Yes, what you've already done.
Second, any discussion?
My signature, yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Use pencil or pen?
Okay. Mary, you have to sign one of those?
Yeah, how many do you need?
Don't we have to like 5 over?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Push the button.